Hare Hare Gange Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. Wow, there has been so much conversation, ideas, theories happening with the coronavirus, and I have been a bystander observing how different people are coming up with these different conclusions and really looking at it from that highest level perspective. And I want to share this episode with you. In fact, I was actually eating dinner 2 seconds ago. And I was just having all of these thoughts and these ideas in my head, and I could feel the download turning online. And that is how I know I need to put on my headset and start recording a podcast episode, because I just let this stream of consciousness run through me as I am vocalizing it with you on my solo cast. So that's how all of my solo casts pretty much work. I'm just feeling inspired, feeling in flow, feeling something that is ready to come through me, and I hop on the podcast. So let's go. Let's see where this journey takes us. So what I really want to discuss right now are the different dimensions in which we can view the coronavirus. So what do I mean by dimensions? Well, I'm not talking about like the shape, but I'm actually speaking about the dimensions in which the context, the depth in which we look at something. So if you think about a dimension is like long and wide and height. So the more dimension there is to something, the more depth there is to something. So when we think of dimension, we look at depth, we look at perspective, we look at view. So if 3D was our physical world, we all know if something is 3D, it's like we can see it, we can touch it. It's right there. So we are living in a 3D world. I see a table, I see a human, I see a chair. These are all things that are in my 3-dimensional world and that I can make sense of in my mind, because my mind is very used to understanding things in the 3D. So most of us, if not pretty much all of us, have been brought up to see things from a 3-dimensional view. We were not born that way. As children, we are extremely 5th-dimensional and even higher dimensions than that. But our school system, our parents, our society teach us to follow the facts, do what makes sense. Can science prove this? Where is the data on that? So it takes our imagination, our curiosity, our intuition, and actually puts it into a box where we aren't seeing the bigger picture, because there are things that we can just feel, things that we resonate with, things that we remember, things that we just know to be true. But if we don't have, chronological proof on it, then it is deemed as society as not worthy. So we have been basically brought up to be very 3D. Where is that fact coming from? What study does that show? And now we can see that the studies that are even out there are funded by people who have vested interest in continuing this 3D way of living. So science, and I speak about this a lot on the podcast, science is behind spirit. Science is trying to keep up with how spirit just is. In the spiritual world, there are no answers. There is no explanation. We have to become okay with the unknown. This is the biggest thing that is arising for people right now. We are not used to the unknown. We have always lived in the unknown, but we didn't think. Our human mind tried to rationalize and have Q1 to Q4 goals and our daily planner and our schedule and our Google Cal and our ideas of what this year was supposed to look like and life was supposed to look like, and things are supposed to go my way based off of my rational mind, which only knows things from the past, right? So how are we going to create this new reality if all we're doing is echoing things from the past? How are we going to make space for magic if we are setting goals and essentially parameters against everything that we do? So the 3D perspective, what is beautiful about it is it's very pragmatic. It's very realistic in, again, what has already happened. So what we expect from the world. So a 3D perspective on coronavirus would be there is this disease right now. There's this virus, and this virus is extremely contagious, and a lot of people are dying, and it might spread on your packages. So you have to sanitize your packages and open your packages up with a glove and open them outside. But who knows, because it's also airborne. And if someone on your floor has the virus, then they might breathe air and they might walk in the hallway. And then when I walk in the hallway, I could get the virus. And oh God, don't ever expect me to go into an elevator. That's just a breeding ground for coronavirus. And you know what? The grocery stores have it, and this has it, and everyone has it. I'm just never going to leave my house until there's a vaccine for it. And once there's this vaccine, I'm going to be the first person in my 6-foot parameter line to get this vaccine. And then I'm going to wait at home until they tell me it is safe for me to go outside. Right? So this is the perspective that the mainstream world has. Most of the world has. This is the narrative they tell us in the news. It is not safe. You are going to die. We need a lot of help, and the government is going to be the person that provides that help. Your body is not to be trusted. Your body does not know how to heal itself. And if this virus happens, God knows your body cannot handle it. Again, some of this could be true. Some of this could be not. I am not here to tell you that. I am here to share the dimension with you. So what's beautiful about this 3D is it is taking the most radical response it can based on survival. It is seeing if there is even a threat of death. I am going to do everything in my power, even if it means giving up my rights, my freedom, my joy, friendships, whatever it takes, because I am so deeply afraid of dying. Again, you could say, well, of course you should be afraid of dying. Or you might realize that death isn't actually the end, you know? Even when you die, your soul lives on. So in the 3D perspective, we don't think about a soul. You're probably not listening to this podcast if you're completely anchored in the 3D. Because in a 3D perspective, death is the worst thing that can happen to you because it is the end as we know it. So right now, coronavirus is kind of the worst thing that could happen to you because it is the end as we know it. The end of society, the end of our education system, banking system. So many different systems have ended as we've known it. And that is really scary for us that are anchored in the 3D because we want to hold on to the things that we know. So if you think about it as a roller coaster, we're all going through this roller coaster ride, and those of us that are in the 3D are gripping onto the sides of this roller coaster, thinking that if we hold on tight enough, the roller coaster's not going to go, even though no matter how hard you hold on, you're still going for the ride. So the 3D perspective has a lot of value in the way that it's very based off of survival. In a way, it has what has helped humans get to where they are today in terms of surviving ice ages and being attacked by lions and all sorts of things. It's that 3D primal brain that says, there is danger and I'm going to run away from it. And I'm going to sacrifice anything else because all that matters is my survival. So I think we get a good view on this 3D world that we're in. And right now what is happening is a lot of the people from 3D are transitioning to 4D. 4D is the next dimension. 4D is essentially the gateway. And it is when we begin questioning things. It is when we begin asking ourselves, you know what? The media does seem to really try to be scaring me. And they do make money off of every single time I click on an article. So they probably are putting things that could evoke fear into us because they know that fear sells. And maybe everything they're telling us is not even accurate. I mean, if we look about historically, the media has lied to us so many different times, and then you begin that rabbit hole. People call them conspiracy theories. I don't like that word because that word dismisses the fact that there are other theories. And if we even look at the languaging of conspiracy, it basically means of a belief. Right? So we try to label things, this conspiracy theorists, and say that it's like this bad thing, like it's a slandering word for it. But actually, it just means to question. So right now we are having this awakening that a lot of the people from 3D are moving into this questioning phase. Is it Bill Gates? Did Bill Gates cause this? Is it 5G? Is it the vaccines? Is it ID 2020? Is it pedophilia ring? Is it Tom Hanks this? Is, all of these different things. And I'm not going to go, if maybe you haven't even heard of these before and you're like, what are you talking about? I haven't heard any of these. Then that's not part of your journey right now, because if that was, you would have heard about them. Or maybe I was meant to be so I'm not going to go into all of them because that's not the dimension that I'm really on, but it is a beautiful one for many of us to be on because it is the shift. It is when we realize that not everything that we are taught is the truth, that we can't simply believe our media, our government, our mainstream information sources because they've lied to us in the past. So this takes us on this questioning field. And this questioning field can liberate you from a lot of things. It can make you realize that, a lot of the power that you've been giving up is yours to hold. And it can also make you rewrite a lot of your stories, a lot of the things that you once held onto, because now you're realizing that maybe you always thought like the government and the police and all these people are here to help you. And now you're seeing that maybe that's not always the case. So it is a big wake-up call for people. It is when people often have their big radical awakenings. And it is a very, important stage for people to be on. Now, here is when it stops being helpful. I've seen a lot of people in this 4D stage take on victimhood and stay in victimhood, because what happens when you go very deep into these theories, and trust me, I've gone into all of them, is you never leave feeling any better. You think that you're going to figure out the theory of all theories, and then you've cracked the code and you've taken the red pill and you've seen all the truth. But the thing is, the more you go into the theory, the darker it becomes, and the less trust that you have, and the more anger that you create, and the more helpless you actually feel. Because first of all, you realize that maybe people don't have my best interest in mind. And then that takes you often into victimhood of, I am the victim of my government. I am the victim of the beings at power, or whatever it is, the Illuminati, whoever it is that Bill Gates, whoever the person that we are essentially putting the blame on. And the thing with that is we are saying that our happiness is based off of another person when that is not true. The government, the whoever cannot dictate your happiness. It cannot dictate your internal state. And when we're putting all of our eggs into the how could they do this to me basket, we are giving up our sovereignty. We think we're doing it to become free, but actually we're lowering our vibration. I've seen a lot of people be very into different theories, and they become miserable because then you realize that there's nothing you can really do. Whatever's going to happen can happen. And sure, you can protest and you can sign petitions and you can do all of these things. But if it's really as convoluted as you say it is, then there is nothing you can do because this is a master plan. So what does that really create in you? It just creates helplessness and victimhood and sadness. And that isn't really the energy in which you're going to create from. So if we really look at why we even do it, it is our mind trying to make sense of things. Our ego feels really good when it can understand things. And we feel like we're putting together pieces of a puzzle. We're unraveling something that no one else has. And then once we feel like we know what it is, we want to shout it out from the top of the lungs and let everyone know because we feel this calling to wake them up. However, once we tell this person our speculation, then what happens? Do we have all of the answers? When that person asks all of their questions, have you worked in this vaccine or this 5G or whatever it is to know everything? And what are you guys going to do about it now? So this is the part that people often don't really get into and they don't look at. And again, I am all about activism and raising awareness, but it has to be based off of something that you know to be true. And what I'm seeing happening right now with coronavirus is we don't know much at all. We have to be okay with the fact that we don't know. We don't know if it's a virus. We don't know if it's this. We don't know. We can't say. But what I'm seeing happening a lot with these 4Ders is they are claiming to know. They're claiming to be the one who's figured it all out, and they need to wake everyone up, because what are you doing when they're not virologists, they're not doctors, they've never worked in any of the things that they're talking about. So it's based off of a speculation that they've probably heard from someone else. They've probably seen someone that they trust share something, and because that person has this opinion, they've taken on as their own. So it's actually repeating the 3D agenda, but now it's about a 4D related topic. So I'm seeing this happen a lot. Now we're all hopping on this bandwagon of certain theories when we don't know it to be true. And again, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't know. So I'm not going to make a claim about something that I don't know about. And I think that it takes a lot of guts and courage for us to just be like, yeah, we don't know what's happening in this situation. But what we do know is what we can control, and that's our internal state. So eventually we go so deep into this 4D, we go deep into the rabbit holes, and some people stay there. Some people, they spend their lives with these, and there are the people who a major part of their dharma is to remain in the 4D. They pride themselves on being the whistleblowers, and they create documentaries and videos about what is happening in the media, and that is their role there. However, it's when it turns into anger, fear, and victimhood that it needs to be transmuted into the 5D. And I'll also share with you how our work might be working in a different dimension in which we tend to operate from. So the 5D is where we are really all going, hopefully in this lifetime, but if not, maybe the next. So the 5D level of consciousness is based off of pure love and joy. It is the dimension of limitless possibility. It is the dimension of your highest self. It is that trust that you have that everything is working out for you and that the universe always has your back. It is that feeling of knowing that there is a divine plan and you are a part of it, and that you don't have to fight and push and prove a point, but everything is going to turn out exactly as it needs to. It is a feeling of faith, of knowingness, of deep intuitive wisdom. And in this level of consciousness, we don't get so frazzled up about what is happening in the world, because we know that things are working out exactly as they are meant to. Again, it might be in the longer run, but they are working out as they need to. We trust that everyone is on their own journey. We trust that people are doing the work that they are meant to be doing and learning the lessons that they are meant to be learning and experiencing the shadows that they are meant to be experiencing. And instead of trying to stop people from having that experience, we allow them to, while holding that light, being that sun being, shining the light back at them to help illuminate their path and make their path easier without trying to show them what's right. We aren't proving a point anymore in 5D. We're not getting into fights with people in the comment section. Like, that is a very 3 and 4D thing. 5D, we don't care. We're like, sure, you can come up with your conclusion whenever you want. Doesn't affect me, because you're choosing to live in that reality of limitless love and limitless possibility. So this is why, for me, I very much operate in the 5D. And when all of this happened, I felt more energized than ever before, because I knew that this was my great soul mission of why I incarnated here on this planet. I knew that I volunteered to be here at this time to be part of this collective shift. So the moment that all of this started happening last month, I was on IG Lives every single day doing what? Dancing. Bringing dance and heart and meditation and love and your inner child out, because we need more 5D on this planet. And we are all guided to work at different dimensions. So I am someone who operates in 5D and works in 5D. The work that I do is to bring people up to this vibration with me, to show them the path so they could walk to it. Whereas there are some people who are in 5D, but they are being called to work in the 3D. They're being called to go be the doctors in the emergency rooms or be the lawyers, etc. Even though maybe they do have a broader level perspective of 5D, but they're called to be in the trenches. And that is super admirable and beautiful. And that's what their dharma is. And I think most of the people in the 4D who work in the 4D tend to be in the 4D, because if you're 5D, you don't really get into these theories so much, because there's no point, because you know everything is working out exactly as it needs to. And you're no longer in victim consciousness. So what is the point of pointing the blame and being mad at someone, because you know that no one can control your happiness? So you're not really going to go down these theories, though you might entertain them at times. Like, I definitely am interested to see what people think, and I find that interesting, but I don't really like to reside there. So most of the 4D people are in that point of they're pushing away the 3D, but they haven't quite anchored yet into the full feeling of trust. And again, this is not like a hierarchy, even though there are dimensions, but it's more of fields that you tap into. So I think all of us have felt the different dimensions in the past month. I have definitely felt times that completely into 3D, especially with my immediate family members having the coronavirus at the beginning of this whole thing happening. And that was when the quarantine began, and all of the different speculations and theories were out there, and it was like all coming on at once. And my being did go into fear. I did have that 3D reaction, but I quickly was able to, go back to myself, which is very 5D, and realize that, the worst thing that can happen is my parents die and I'll still have a relationship with them and in the spiritual, and that's fine. And, my grandma did die that week, and, I talk to her all the time in my dreams now. So it's not that big of a deal, because I'm actually able to communicate with her much more. So now that I'm able to go back into my 5D, I'm actually able to help way more people. So some could say, oh, well, if you're not in the 3D and you're not in the trenches, then you're not actually helping people. Well, we don't all need to be the doctors. We don't all need to be, working at the supermarket. There are certain people who are called, their souls are called to be working in that dimension, bringing the love there. But others of us have different energetic bodies, and that would actually crush us. So we need to honor ourselves and who we are, and realize that we all have different quantities of light and density. So the density is the 3D is just way more dense. It's more just like, this is what it is. So someone who has more density in their being can handle a lot more density. Where someone that has a lot more light in their being, if there's a lot of density, it's just not the best use of their energy. You eventually reach this level of light that even if there's a dense vibration state around you, it doesn't affect you, but it's not what you're being called to do. You're being called to help magnify people at a much larger level that for example, working in the 3D field would not be the best use of the energy that you were born to share. And then in the 4D, I think that a lot of the people need to be the way showers for the people out of the 3D. They need to be showing people that you need to question everything that you put into your body. You need to question your vaccines. You need to question your medication. You need to question what they're putting in the skies and what they're putting in the dirt and what the corporations and how they're involved. Because we do need to have these questions, and because all dimensions are true. Because from a 3D perspective, there is a disease and there are people suffering and there are people dying. That is true. And from a 4D, there are things that we don't know that are happening, and there is shady business going on, and that is true too. And from the 5D, we're all going to be okay. And we're all just love in human form, and we all here are part of this shift. And none of us are here on accident. In fact, the very reason why we are here incarnated at this time is because our souls chose to be part of the most incredible shift in human history. This has never happened ever before on a global scale. And we're all going to have different ways that we're going to elevate from it. Some people might not be ready to elevate from it yet. Some people who are very in the 3D, it still might be a huge shock to their energy body that they just need more soothing and soothing and soothing. They are still just like, I need my Netflix and my snacks. That's all I can do right now. And that's where they're at. We can't be mad at them. That's where they're at. And some people in the 4D, which they probably were questioning something else the government was doing before this, and now this is a really big thing to question. So they're continuing that. And now I think a lot of people from the 4D are ascending to the 5D, and they're realizing that, why should I waste my life being so angry? Who am I trying to prove? Why am I sacrificing my joy for the very people that I'm trying to bring down? And you realize that even just like by trying to fight, what does that do to you? It brings you down to that energy, that vibration of fighting. And is it worth it? It's worth it when we have a clear plan and we know, okay, if we protest at this place, it's going to have this result that we know is going to benefit society. But all of us just posting incessantly on social media and fighting each other doesn't have an end goal. It doesn't actually help anyone. It doesn't actually do anything. Because again, if the government was really here to put martial law on us, do you think they're checking your Instagram story? And do you think they're going to stop doing it because you reposted a bunch of people? No. And that is a very hard pill to swallow because it makes us feel helpless. And that's what we're trying to avoid in the 4D. We're trying to avoid feeling helpless, but then we put ourselves in another situation that makes us feel helpless. So we need to get out of victimhood. You know, a lot of the Tibetan monks, when they were imprisoned by the Chinese government, they said, well, this isn't really that much different than being on retreat. Because they were still in their beings, they were still in their high vibration, they were still in their meditation. You could put me in a jail cell and I will still be me. Granted, of course, I don't want to be in a jail cell, but wherever you go, there you are. So before quarantine, the very things that were, the shadows that were lurking were still there. People are like, quarantine is making me depressed. No one, and nothing is making you depressed. There's probably depression underlying, lingering within you, and now it's coming to surface for you to transmute it. And yes, there is so much to be sad about in the 3D. And sometimes I read these articles of what's happening in India and the migrants who can't find homes, and I get down into the 3D, and then I realize me being sad about it right now is not helping anyone. I donate money, I do what I can, but me being so sad about it and reading article after article after article is not helping anyone. Where I can help the most number of people is through love and joy, through connecting to our bodies and connecting to our hearts and connecting to our wombs. I think we have enough suffering in the world. I don't think we need more people to add to it. And we're really being called to step up in the way that we operate. And we're not going to be able to become this 5D society if all we do is remain in the 3 and 4D. We need more people who stop feeling guilty about being the sun beings that they are. We need to stop feeling guilty that I'm not doing enough, or I'm not helping people if I'm not physically there on the field. And this was a huge thing I've dealt with my whole life because I have always been an activist. I started the first Amnesty International and in my school and was a huge, teen activist. And then I went to school to become an international human rights lawyer in DC, and I was working with the NGOs, and my plan was always to work with the UN and then going that path, volunteering in Zimbabwe and Vietnam and all these places on the field, working with the people, teaching them about human rights, and so many beautiful memories doing that, but then realizing, then I leave and the orphans don't have anyone to teach them anymore. And the factory workers stop having, someone telling them about their workers' rights. And, if it's not sustainable, it's not really helping. And I had to really face that. If I truly want to help people, what is the best way of doing it? Is it giving them food and leaving? Or is it changing the way they think so they realize that the universe is abundant? And I believe consciousness is the ultimate level in which we can help and heal the world. Because until we help people see that they are limitless, they are going to depend on the outside world. They're going to depend on you. And after you leave, they're going to depend on someone else. So if we really want to help people, we have to change the way that people think. We have to let them know that they are worthy of experiencing love and joy, that they don't have to feel bad about being happy at this time. In fact, your happiness is the greatest thing that you can do for humanity. Because on the 3D level, when you're happy, you're more likely to help. You're more likely to donate and buy food for your neighbors and do all of these 3-dimensional things, which are extremely beautiful. But also, your vibration of happiness creates an energetic field that we might not be able to see with the world, but this is why these global mass meditations, when we all meditate at the same time, are so palpable. Because we are all creating an energetic field that increases the vibration of the entire planet. And that might sound woo or out there, etc. Then you just know you're not there yet. Because when you do see that energy is everything, this like becomes obvious for you, which is why I'm so excited with all of these beautiful indigo and crystal and these new rainbow children that are coming forth. And these are the children who are born on their mission. They are born knowing that they came to this planet to elevate the vibration of the planet and bring heaven on earth. And they're so on their soul missions from such a young age. And they're telling their parents, like, we got to stop with the plastic. We got to stop with eating our friends, our animals. And we got to change the way that people treat each other. And it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that they're here. And we are also part of that too. You know, I've done different episodes about the difference between the indigo children, the crystal children, the rainbow children, but I'm part of the indigo, which are the generation of first generation spiritual people in their family. So my parents weren't spiritual at all, and I had the awakening, and I was the person to essentially change the trajectory for my ancestry. But a lot of the rainbow children that are being born right now are the kids of these spiritual people who they were fully allowed to be exactly as they are. So when they are talking about we need to save the oceans, their parents are like, yeah, you tell us, how are we going to do that? Instead of shutting them down. So it actually lets them develop more and more and more. So we could see Greta Thunberg as a huge example of this, literally helping the environment on such a large scale and such a rainbow child that she is. So we are all having this beautiful awakening. And I suspect if you're listening to this podcast this deep in, you're part of it. So feel what feels right for you. But I am going to guess if you've clicked on this episode, you are feeling the 5D. And you are feeling yourself that, yes, you're interested to see the different theories of what's happening. And yes, your heart so feels for everyone that lost their job and everything that's happening. You so feel for that. And you have this deeper knowing in your body that you were meant for something so much greater than this. That your energy is the most powerful thing that you can do to heal the world. And that even though these different things are going on, this is part of a greater awakening. And just to let you know, that doesn't take us off the hook. That doesn't mean, okay, well, we're just going to sit back and relax and let Earth do exactly what she needs to do. No, it's not about that at all. We, as the light workers, the sun beings, the goddesses, whatever you want to call it, we are the ones who get to wake other people up. It's not about you just having the awakening and sitting at your house and waiting for everyone else to get it too. No. We're using our voices. I mean, I just told you, I was in the middle of eating dinner and I felt the urge to say this, so I stopped eating, even though my stomach is still very hungry, because I felt the need to say this, because I knew it was a message that was going to awaken people. So it's actually taking us out of our selfishness and into selflessness. It is taking us from the me to the we. So please know that there is nothing to feel guilty about if you are truly committed to raising the vibration of the planet, because in you truly committing to that, you actually become the greatest healer for humanity. Because that 4D level perspective would actually be that level of, well, I'm fine. I got everything I need. I'm good. So I'm just going to hang out at home and let everyone else figure it out. That's actually 4D. 5D sees that we are all one. And we're all connected. And when another being is suffering, and I'm not talking about physical suffering, I'm talking about spiritual suffering. They're suffering because they don't believe that they have everything that they need. They're suffering because they're bought into the belief of scarcity that has been fed to them. They're suffering because they don't know how powerful they are. So when other beings are suffering, we cannot truly be free. So we will continue until we free all of the beings and freeing them from the shackles of their minds. Because these shackles of their minds are what is creating this entire coronavirus simulation. So we are being asked to look at things from a deeper lens than we ever have before. Deep doesn't mean going into the deep state. It means looking at things for the good of all. Looking at things of what is truly going to help society. Looking at things of what truly matters. What makes you feel good? Because at the end of the day, what really matters is how we feel. Not having all the answers, not being right, but how we feel. Like when you're fighting with your friend, and even if you proved your point and they said you're right, do you feel any better? No. We feel better when we experience unity. We feel better when we share our gifts and they're received. We feel better when we sing and we dance and we stop fucking talking about the coronavirus. So that is why, and I shared this in my other episode of why now is the most important time to stay in the light. That is why I've been dancing. I dance because I can. I dance because I'm free. I don't always dance because I'm happy, but I'm happy because I dance. So what is that to you? Is it physically dancing? Is it painting? Is it singing? Is it sewing? Is it DJing? Is it decorating? Is it gardening? Find that thing that brings you so much joy and then pass that torch of light to others. Because we are needed in so many different ways. We're not all, again, meant to be politicians or doctors or whatever it is. During the Great Depression, there were the people who were working on the economy and there were the people who were working, etc. And then there were also the jazz players, at the speakeasies, and there were the poets and there were the artists. And sometimes we forget about these important other roles that people play. So what role are you being asked to play right now? First of all, how are you raising consciousness in yourself? And that is going to show you how you are being asked to raise consciousness. Don't teach something you're not doing for yourself. When you are doing something so for yourself, like the way that I feel about dancing, I couldn't not teach it. I feel so juiced up about dancing that it's overflowing from me. That the only thing I can do at this point is share it with other people because it's oozing out of my pores. That's how we get to feel. And it might not be your first time because you might have a lot of limiting beliefs that tell you that you're not good enough or you can't put yourself out there or it's not safe for you. Again, those are all based in the 3D. But when we come to the 3D and we realize the only reason why I'm fucking alive is to share these gifts and rock these gifts and experience the joy that I feel from them and see the joy that they give to other people, that is when we truly come online. 2 days ago, I just did this epic dance party on Zoom where I DJ'd a set, reggaeton, dance hall, 2000s hip hop, lots of Missy Elliott, tribal. And I had 500 people come on Zoom as we were dancing together, just ecstatic dance, full body bliss. And then I guided a meditation to connect us into our womb. Oh my goddess, I'm still vibrating from that because it put me in such a joyful state, not just for myself, but really joyful because I was able to see 500 other women experience that joy with me. Women who were dancing with their kids at home. Woman on her wheelchair, twerking in her wheelchair. Women from all walks of life, all ages. Women who've been alone for the past month. Women who've been quarantined with their mothers and finally they got to do something fun together. People saying it was the best day of 2020 for them. This is what we get to do. Imagine if I said, me dancing is not enough. It's not actually helping anyone. I need to be more on the front line. I should have gone to medical school. I should have become a doctor. I'm such a waste of time. I would have prevented those 500 people from having the best day of 2020 for them. I would say that's a pretty good thing to have. And we all have the opportunity to create that for other people in your unique way. So please don't let the voice of the media and of society make you think that your joy and your bliss is not enough. In fact, it is the only thing that truly matters. In this new dimension, the 5D, we are going to be basically living our lives from the heart. We are going back to the time where we learned about what we wanted to learn about, not what school told us to learn about, not what some textbooks that are funded by some media places told us to learn about. We're learning about what makes us come alive. And we're using that education towards bettering humanity and treating our planet with more love. This is where we're going. And yeah, we can look at all of the issues happening. But let's look at the fact that finally the animals in Yosemite have been free enough to walk around and the bear population has quadrupled in the past month. Let's look at the fact that we have seen dolphins closer to shore than ever before. I just took a walk. I saw dolphins so close to me. The sky is bluer than ever before. The pollution has gone down literally by like 90% in some cities, including in Los Angeles, in Delhi, in Tehran, some of the most polluted cities in the world, which are actually saving lives from the lack of pollution. There are so many, and I don't even like this word silver linings because it makes it seem like, oh, this random thing that coincidentally happened. No, that's what's happening. You're just so used to looking at everything that's going wrong that to you, this is a silver lining when this is actually the whole damn point. The whole point is Earth is reviving. Earth is healing. Earth needed us to stop so she could replenish, and we needed to sit with our shadows to learn about ourselves. Like, that's not the silver lining of it. That is the cup. But whatever makes people feel better, again, different dimensions. So I just wanted to do this podcast for you to help you see that there are so many different ways that we could look at any situation. You could use this to look at anything in life, but the coronavirus is one that we're all experiencing right now. And now when you're on, social media, in my last solo cast, I talked about why this is actually a really good time for you to get off social media so you could focus on receiving the downloads and messages that you are meant to receive, not what other people are receiving. But when you do go on social media or listen to podcasts or talk to friends, et cetera, you're going to see, different people are going to come forth with different perspectives. And I encourage you, instead of, getting defensive or taking it as true, to look at what dimension is this coming from. Is this coming from a 3D perspective? Is it just based off of like the facts of what's happening right now? Is it the 4D? Is it speculation? Is there some blaming happening here? What is the end result of this? Is it coming from 5D? Is it just complete love and joy? And then from there, when you're able to see, okay, I can see this is coming from this dimension, ask yourself, do I feel like tapping into this dimension right now? Sometimes I do feel like tapping into 4D. Sometimes a friend sends me an article about like some conspiracy and I'm interested. And I go in there, but I always regret it. I'm always like, oh God, why did I go down this rabbit hole again? Now I'm Googling shit and I can't find anything on Google because Google is blocking everything. And I never end up in a happy place. So please, if you're my friend, don't send me those things anymore. And that's why I don't really post about it because it doesn't bring me joy. But sometimes you want to play with a pig, right? But notice what dimension the message is coming from, and then ask yourself, do I want to go in that dimension? Maybe you're in the mood to, or maybe not. And know that dimensions are contagious. We talk a lot about coronavirus being contagious. Let's talk about how dimensions are contagious. When I come with you from a specific lens, I am trying to put my lens onto yours. You don't have to take it. I'm not forcing it on you. But most of us in conversation, we go down to the lower dimension because that is what's possible for both of us. So let's say I'm at 5D and Sally here is at 3D. Sally's never been at 5D before. She's never been able to see the world in the way that I am right now. She's only seen it in 3D, and that's just been her experience. So if she comes to me, you won't believe it. There's so many people dying. And have you sanitized your packages? Did you know it could live off of Amazon packages? And oh my God, these delivery people have it. And I think we're going to be locked up for the next couple of years. We're never going to go back to normal life. So she's coming at this with me. If I start to say, well, what if everything's happening for a reason and this is all bringing us to more love and joy and humanity? What is her response going to be? She's going to be like, are you fucking crazy? People are dying. This virus is more contagious than we ever thought. It is mutating at every moment. And you are telling me that everything is working out exactly as it's supposed to. You are crazy. You are delusional. You are out of touch with the world. I can't believe you. You're so dismissive. You're bypassing reality. And then she's actually going to get more 3D on me because that's the field that she's in and that's what she's committed to. So for me, I have to know that if I want to actually converse with her on this, I have to go down into 3D. Now, I can do this without going into fear. I can say, yeah, there is a lot of pain and suffering, and there are a lot of people dying, and I genuinely feel extremely sorry and painful about that. And I'm not sure what I can do right now, but I feel that. And that's it. She wanted you to feel it. And then maybe that will actually inspire her to say, well, you know what? There are some silver linings, the good old silver linings. There's some silver linings. Because another thing that I've noticed is we tend to juxtapose each other in conversation. So If I come forth with one viewpoint, you naturally, and I don't know why this happens. I think it's just how human mind is conditioned, because it's more interesting to have a conversation where two people have different viewpoints than are agreeing. But I've noticed this a lot with my husband. Like whatever he's dimensional, I will just choose the opposite, not knowing, because my soul just wants to be a little rebellious. So if I tell Sally yeah, it's really sad. I'm feeling so bad about it, and what can we do? It's going to take her out. She's not going to be like, oh, I know. She might, but she actually might realize, you know what? We just got to focus on loving each other and being the best people that we can. Look, now she's come up to 5D without you doing anything. So I'm not saying that this is how to react with every single person. Every single situation is different. But what I am saying is if you are 5D and you're with family members that are in the 3D, they're not going to necessarily take well when you don't acknowledge how they feel. They want to be acknowledged. So you need to tell them, yes, I feel that too. What can we do about it? What's the solution? And then let them come up with the solution. And then from there, they'll realize, maybe they'll go into the 4D, maybe they won't, but you throw the ball back into their court and you realize that they do have control in the situation, even though they feel helpless. So we tend to go to the lowest common dimension. So if Sally came to me and said all of her 3D stuff, and I was like, you know what? It's so crazy. I can't believe it. And my friend lost her job, and I feel like I'm going to lose my job. Then what happened? Now I just lost the stance that I was on. And now I'm in the 3D, she's in the 3D, and now we're all just freaking out to each other, and we're not solving the problem here. We're not feeling better. We're not doing anything. So this is why it's extremely important to have the awareness of dimensions, because then you're able to see it, understand it, and then not get caught up in it. There's a level of separation between you and the conversation. And that's really what consciousness is about. It's to become conscious, to be knowing. You don't react anymore, you observe. So another example, so a lot of my peers are very in the 4D, and that's what a lot of their work is to do. They've always been in 4D, and they're in it right now. So for me, if I'm on Instagram and I start to go into their stories and clicking on all of the things, it takes me into that fear-based place. So if I'm having a conversation with them and I'm like, you know what, you shouldn't be giving into the fear, they're going to react saying, how can I not talk about what is really happening? We need to be talking about this, and it's going to bring them more into the 4D. So again, we have to say, I see you. I see that your intention of what you're trying to do is you're trying to protect us and you're trying to help us. And it's really beautiful that you really want to protect and help us so much. I'll say, thank you so much. I just want people to be happy. I just want people to feel loved. And then boom, they're in the 5D too. So really, the solution to this all is to let people be seen and recognized. And when they're seen and recognized, you increase their vibration, and they naturally find themselves in a fifth dimensional space. I've actually never even explained this before, but it makes a lot of sense. It's just kind of what I'm unconsciously doing. And I want to talk a little bit about when you're in partnership right now. So when you're in partnership right now, you guys are on different journeys. Your souls are on different journeys. You might be partners, but you're individual souls. So they might be observing things in a different way than you are. They might be feeling things in a different way that you are. And you have to trust and understand, and also have a level of separation that their journey does not define yours. One day, you might be having an amazing day and be feeling all the love and all of the light and all of the possibilities. And they might be having a really shitty day and be super sad. So again, if we try to go down to that lowest common denominator, we're all just going to go down into the sadness. And then the sadness is not a good state to be in, and it's not a helpful state to the world. So if your partner is on a different journey, maybe they're going through things more difficult. 1, trust they're going through exactly whatever journey their soul needs. 2, let them feel seen and heard, because from that being seen and heard, they will naturally come up to a higher vibration. And knowing that whatever shadows are revealing to them are coming up for a reason, and it was inevitable. It was going to come up eventually. Maybe it has been coming up and they've been suppressing it. So now it's being revealed to them, and they get to work on this now. So for my husband and I, it's actually been a really beautiful experience, like, because I'm so committed to my work and my podcast and my book and Rose Gold Goddesses and my mastermind and all of these things. And he's so committed to his work of making music and working on his record label and all of these things, that there has been so much individualism still, which, not in a individualistic bad way, but like, he is his own sovereign person having his own experience, and so am I. We work in different rooms, which I think is extremely important. Even if you have one room, maybe one of you sits in the bathroom or something, I think having individual space is extremely important. And some days I might show him this article of like, did you hear about this? And he'll tell me, you know what? Like, why are you worrying about that? It's not taking you to a good place. Like, you were the one who said, don't go into it. I'm like, you know what? You're right. And some days he will. And I'm like, you know what? We just get to stay at home and ride this out. And like, don't worry about it. We're going to shine it up. And, so we get to juxtapose each other. When one of us dips down for us, it tends to be into the 4D. We'll come right back up into the 5D. So it's really beautiful, the fact that we're not always on the same journey, because we get to juxtapose each other and see things from that other viewpoint, and then come back to realizing that this is all love. This is all the experience that our souls signed up for. And we truly are free. I think our deepest, darkest fear is like, what if we're going to be at home forever? Well, guess what? We're at home and it's fine. You're safe. You're protected. You have art and music and dance and song and literature and poetry and crystals and oracle cards and books and so many things that we get to experience that we didn't have time for yet. You can play Monopoly if you want. There's so many. Did you know, my dad actually told me this, Monopoly was created during the Great Depression because people had so much time on their hands that they invented this board game called Monopoly. So who knows what fun games are going to be created out of this? I'm sure there are already so many out there. I know the gaming industry is like rapidly increasing. So let's take this opportunity to create the very things that we wish the world has. And now we have the most valuable currency in all of our pockets, which is time. That very thing that we didn't have enough of, that stressed us out. If only we had more time, if only we had more time. Like, do you remember flaking on your friends last minute so you could stay at home because you felt like you didn't have enough time at home? Like, do you remember doing that? That whole like canceling on your friend thing? Yeah. We did that for a reason. We did that because we wanted more time at home. So yes, it's extremely important to have community. And that's probably the biggest thing that I miss, having my ecstatic dances and my goddess circles and bringing friends together. And the connection that I'm creating with myself is unlike anything else. And knowing that whatever it is that I think I need other people around to do, whether it's dancing or doing a ritual or whatever else, I get to do that with myself. Because at the end of the day, you are with your soul. And if you are happy with your soul, you'll be happy anywhere that you go. So I hope you found this episode helpful, resonant. I'm ready to eat my food. It's been like 50 minutes or so, but I just wanted to share with you because it was beaming and oozing out of me. And that's how I know that there's a message in there for someone out there that might make their day better. So thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. If you want more of me and my community, come join us in Rose Gold Goddesses. It is the Sacred Sisterhood Collective, all about embodying the goddess within. Every month we are working with a new goddess archetype. This month is goddess Kali Ma, the goddess of transformation, of radical rebirth. So head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com to learn more about it. We have weekly workshops happening live on Zoom. We have all of my masterclasses on there, workshops, meditations, so many beautiful things available for you. If you are a spiritual sister that is ready to dive in deeper and make this quarantine your spiritual soul retreat, then come join us in Rose Gold Goddesses. You can find that link in my show notes. It is rosegoldgoddesses.com, and I am so excited to have you in there. If you loved this episode, I would love to send you a free gift, which is the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. This is a different book than Eat Feel Fresh, my first book ever, which is not released anywhere, and I am gifting it exclusively to those who leave a review of my podcast in the iTunes store. So all you got to do is head over to iTunes, where you may be listening to this podcast, and leave a review. Take a screenshot that you've left it and email it over to me at Sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. Again, that's Sahara, Sahara at eatfeelfresh.com. And I will send you back the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type, which goes all into Ayurveda, doshas, plant-based nutrition, body types, all of the things in a really fun and engaging way. So this is my gift to you for free for supporting the podcast. Every single review I personally read. It really helps the podcast be listened to by more people so we can raise the vibration of the planet together. And I am so grateful to have you on this journey. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Namaste.